They are super scary, terrifying. I'm not sure if I feel safe walking down this street right now. Oh my word. Hi everyone. Today I am in quite a different location. Somewhere in the middle, it feels like, of nowhere, far from home. I came here because I have an errand to run. That's done. So now I'm going to head back home via the train. And I thought, whilst I am strolling to the train station and going home, I'd take you with me and we can have a little chat about something on my mind. And it's connected actually to some conversations I've been having recently with some friends and colleagues from work. And I hope they don't mind me talking about this here. I'm not going to mention any names or anything like that. But there's a few things that kind of triggered a few thoughts and ideas that I thought I'd share with you guys as well. Now, these friends of mine, interestingly, they've all recently or semi-recently received diagnoses of some description of some form of neurodiversity. Some of them have found they have ADHD, some of them autism, some of them other things, a variety of things. And so it's been quite interesting, not as a group, but together talking about our experiences about being diagnosed, and then how that coming out period has been sort of similar or different depending on our personal experiences. And so it's been kind of interesting learning about the parallels and overlaps that I've had with their experiences as well. By the way, I don't know if you can notice, but it's absolutely freezing and there's a bunch of doggies everywhere as well. I don't know if you can see this one, it's very cute. But the last time I tried making a video, it was this cold. I almost gave myself frostbite on my fingers. So it's going to be a lot of very short takes, I think, today. So anyway, first of all, let's talk a little bit about receiving a diagnosis. Now, it's interesting because one of the things that I do with my job is I am a mental health first aider. And to get that role, I did a little bit of training. And within that, I learned about how receiving diagnoses of some description for whatever can be quite a thing for people to receive. Some people can find it quite liberating, freeing. It can give them a certain better understanding of themselves and help them to find some kind of, support if they need it, or just to give a word to the thing that's been giving them grief over their lifetimes can be quite a nice experience. But on the other hand, it can also be quite traumatic because, if you learn that you have a particular thing, whatever that is, there's often some kind of connection to that. I mean, obviously, being transgender is one such example, while I personally found it very validating to receive my official diagnosis from the psychologist when I received it. I do also very much understand that there's definitely a connotation to being transgender in society, and so receiving that label can be seen as a bit of a mixed blessing. I mean, for me, I got that diagnosis specifically because I wanted to begin transitioning, and so it gave me access to medication. And I know that for other people, receiving these diagnoses has similarly been quite a positive experience because it has, as I said, it's given a word, it's given a name to this thing on their mind. And similarly, it's also opened up ways of gaining support and therapy and treatment, whatever that means for them. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean medication, it could mean other forms of support. And so it's quite interesting how, generally speaking, for my colleagues and myself, receiving these diagnoses have been quite a positive experience. But bear in mind, we all got this fairly later on in life. These were all adults, maybe in their 20s, maybe in their 30s, and as for me, somebody in their 40s, to be given a kind of a stamp of officialness of something that's been plaguing me specifically for a long time. So when I saw that written down, and I talk about this in a previous video, it was really a very emotional kind of moment for me. Another thing I found, and this was coming specifically from a conversation I was having with somebody yesterday, is how much is bound up with the coming out process. And it's one thing, I think there's like a two-pronged process here. There's one thing sort of coming out to yourself and recognizing and understanding that this is who you are. As I say, for me, it was that recognition within myself that I'm transgender. That took me so long. And getting the diagnosis, I don't think it helped. I was 100% certain that's who I was before I got it. But I know for some people, they really did appreciate having that expert telling them that this is who they are. And it really did help kind of reinforce that idea within their own minds. So there's that coming out to oneself, but then also, of course, there's the coming out to other people as well. And so, yeah, in this conversation yesterday I was having, this person was telling me that they felt that they were really wary about telling other people about themselves because they don't want to be seen as less than in the faces of other people. And I can get that. I completely understand that. You know, like that was one of the things which prevented me from coming out for so long, because I didn't want people to change how they saw me. I didn't want people to think of me any differently as soon as they've learned about this one element of my life. It's not something that I want to be the sole definer of who I am, despite my channel being completely about this one subject. But you know what I mean. I talk about this on my channel because, I don't know, I think it's a story worth telling at least. So that was something quite interesting, and this person has been a little bit more guarded about who they've come out to, but I personally have found it to be quite liberating. And I think I do say quite often that the more you come out to people, the easier it becomes. And they disagreed with that idea. They said that that wasn't something that they found to be true. And that kind of forced me to reflect a little bit about the process myself. And I feel that while maybe at first it was hard because I didn't have the words or the courage to tell people about myself, I don't have that issue right now, I don't think. The people that I spoke to about it first, I handpicked. These were people that I specifically knew would be fine with it. And so I could retain a certain element of control about where this news goes, where this part of my identity disappears off to into the world. I could retain a certain degree of control over it. But the more people I tell, the less control I have over who learns about this. But also, I'm starting to have to tell people, or I have told people, that I don't know what they will do with that information. I don't know if they're going to take it positively. I don't know if they're going to take it negatively. I don't know if it's going to change how they see me. And so that's quite a lot harder, because suddenly there's a lot more variables at play. There's a lot less trust that I have in those people that I'm coming out to. And it's absolutely true that it is harder in that sense, but easier in the sense that I'm quite open and happy saying I'm transgender outwards and openly, because back in the day there used to be a bit of a stutter when I said that, but now it just comes out easily. Back in more familiar territory now. I guess that's good, but it is getting dark and it is still snowing. Anyway, back on the topic of needing to let go of control over this part of my identity. I think that's been really important for me, because I think if I didn't learn to give away that control, to hand it away and to not want to or need to keep that, then I wouldn't be able to get out and about. I wouldn't be able to be myself, go to Krakow wearing a lovely black sweater dress on the train and in restaurants, because I need to learn how to accept that people are going to see me as a transgender person, but that's okay, because yes, I know that carries a certain connotation and it carries a certain kind of understanding, not all of it positive, but so be it. I mean, I have to just let it go as the sun goes, I suppose. This restaurant, by the way, is really pretty. I haven't been here, but it looks really nice. Maybe one day. I think it's quite swanky and it's probably outside of my price point at the moment. Anyway, so one more thing that I just wanted to talk about today on this sort of overlapping between my experiences and the experience of others is the idea of grief or grieving. And I was, on the one hand, quite surprised when somebody I was talking to was saying how they felt kind of sad and frustrated about the life that they'd lost. And this is something that I've heard a lot in transgender spaces, this grieving for the life that you could have had. Because especially in the spaces where I go, I hang out with other people who've started transitioning quite late in life. And I think it is quite a normal and natural kind of reaction to not necessarily regret things that you did or didn't do, but to feel a touch of sadness because we've only got a relatively limited amount of time remaining to be ourselves. We've lost time. And I do have this feeling still from time to time, but it did kind of surprise me, but it really shouldn't have done on reflection, that my friend, my neurodivergent friend, said something very similar. Even though they didn't get their diagnosis as late as I did, they still felt that they'd been missing out because they hadn't been able to access the treatment and support that they've needed for years. And by getting that diagnosis, as I said earlier, has allowed them to find that support and get that support, and I'm hoping they can feel they're leading a much more fulfilling and fuller life subsequently. So yeah, I suppose that makes a lot of sense for there to be another parallel there between my experience, you know, coming out and being an outwards transgender person, and them and their way that they are dealing with their post-diagnosis life as well. So that really interested me. Now I'm saying these things, I'm talking about my experiences and the experiences of some of the people around me. Can you hear these crows, by the way? They are super scary. Can you see them? Flying around, it's terrifying. I mean, they're called a murder of crows for good reason. It's just so scary. Look at this. I'm not sure if I feel safe walking down this street right now. Oh my word. Anyway, so I'm talking about my experiences and the experiences of some of my friends and where they overlap. But I'm more than aware that my experiences are not universal. Their experiences are not universal. So, you know, your mileage may vary. You may find that you don't experience any of these things, or you experience all of them to a greater or lesser degree than I did. So it's always interesting for me to learn about how other people have experienced these processes, whether that's coming from a trans experience or from any other, because to a certain extent we have to come out about quite a few things. It could be about your gender, it could be about your sexuality, it could be about your neurodivergence or anything really. And it's fascinating for me to learn how and where these experiences overlap and where we share these feelings and thoughts, because I think they're very human. But there you go. Anyway, so I'll leave it there because my hands are freezing and I'm terrified that I'm going to be attacked by crows any minute. But yeah, if you feel that you've got experiences that you'd like to share, if you found that your experience is very similar or very different, then I'd love to hear about it. Feel free to just join in the conversation in the comment section below. I hope that wherever you are, you're a lot warmer and a lot cozier than I am today, and I look forward to seeing you very soon. Take care, all the best.